It's 11 o'clock. Thanks everybody for coming to the park today to help us celebrate Ben Karbaumer. We're having a smithing for him today, and some shoers have showed up from around the country, and many of his friends have showed up, and I couldn't be more excited. My name is Sam, and this is his father, Klaus, and we're so happy you all came today. I've been asked to read a paragraph from his mother and Rebecca, Beatrice, and Rebecca couldn't make it today. They're still in Germany, but they are having a celebration at this very moment as we are. So kind of cool. But so one of Ben's early horseshoeing legends was a guy named Rusty May, and we went down to visit him in Colorado. And so I'm going to open this with just I don't know what Ben's religious beliefs are, but he loved this poem. So it was a way to get to heaven. A man knocked at the heavenly gate. His face was scarred and old. He stood before the man of fate for admission to the fold. What have you done, St. Peter asked, to gain admission here? I've been a horseshoer, sir, for many and many a year. The pearly gates swung wide open. St. Peter touched the bell. Come in and choose your harp, he said. You've had your share of hell. So that's just maybe an inside joke for horseshoers, but yeah. Anyway, this is from his mom and Rebecca asked me to read this before I hand this over to Klaus. Oh, let me find it here. Dear friends and neighbors, unfortunately, my mother and I are unable to attend with you in Kansas City today. Thank you to all for your efforts to organize this gathering to remember and honor my big brother Ben. And thank you to all of you for coming together to share memories of your friend, neighbor, colleague. Know that at this very moment, 4,600 miles across the Atlantic Ocean, we are celebrating Ben's life right along with you, the people who knew and admired him, also here in Germany. Our hearts are broken that Ben left this world so soon, and we grieve the memories we still would have liked to have made with him. But my mom and I are also grateful for the time we were granted with him, the sunshine, laughter, weirdness, caring, and sense of safety and love that he brought into our lives, all of our lives, including yours. He's at peace, no longer in pain. He's found the freedom he ached for so long. Let us grant him his peace, celebrate who he was, and hold him dear in our hearts as one of the most special individuals to ever enter our lives. With love, your little sister, Rebecca. Klaus.
Can you hold that?
I can.
First of all, bear with me. An old guy has to have a cheat sheet so I don't forget anything that I wanted to say. I'm grateful that all of you took the time to come on a day like this. And also, despite the high traveling costs, some of you came from far away. Nancy here from Washington State, John Kreider from the other side, from Connecticut, and Sam Silverman and his wife and his family from Oregon. And all of you are really appreciated that you come here and show your love and respect. It is not easy for me to do that. Thanks also to Chris Jocelyn and Sam here and Kate Barsodi, who arranged and organized this event, this meeting, and took the burden off of our shoulders. I would not have been able, and my wife, who's a great organizer and whatever, but it would have been too much for us. The last 2 years were not easy, not for his family, not for Ben, and everyone involved. He fell into a deep depression, and despite treatment, medication, hospitalization in Germany and here, he could not escape his abject despondency. He had loyal friends who helped him, Valerie and Denise, who went beyond the pale to ease his burden and help him, because very often he was not even capable of taking care of normal things like renewing a license or whatever. We all tried to. His mother and his sister in Germany did too. But tragically, on a trip to Colorado on May the 3rd, he succumbed to the deep despondency that he felt, and he took his own life. His suffering is over. And so, it's hard for me. He is no more. A recognition of that is inconceivable. I cannot imagine a life without him. I can't. But he will live on in our minds and memories. I want to share some things about his life with you. Ben, like all of us, was not a perfect person, but I can say proudly as a father, he was a very great person. He was caring. When he was 10 and his sister came into the world, he showed himself to be a caring and loving brother right away. Had her on his, cradled her on his knees, carried her around. Later on, when she was a little bit older, he's starting his metal fabrication that he picked up later. He built a sidecar for his bike and took around the village. At that time you could do that. There was not that much traffic. And the good relationship with his sister persisted, and that's not always the case, persisted through an entire life. Mentioning the sidecar, he developed this predilection for building things from early on. As he had chummed up with the village blacksmith, he hung out. There was an older guy, but he hung out with him quite a long time and learned from him. And later on, when I mentioned that, he said, "Well, Dad, two things taught me to work with metals and be." One said there was barbers in the shop, and you gave me all those Lego things, and he built Lego things for years and years, and he said that sharpened his sense of that. With his friends, he rode out with his Shetland pony for entire afternoons. My horses were too big for him at that time, but his Shetland pony was his life. Later on, of course, horses became his life. Ben was a good student at school, although, quite frankly, not always very diligent, especially then when we moved to the United States in 1991, and he finished high school there. Very often, his mother and I kind of frowned at that, because he would do his high school assignments in the last moment possible, and they still hear him clattering and hacking away at his typewriter. At that time, we didn't have a computer. At his typewriter late into night. When we exhorted him about that, then he pointed to us. He said, "But did you look at my grades?" He had always good grades. So somehow he could justify this kind of lap. And then he decided he was going to be a farrier. Now imagine, parents, two teachers. I'm a fifth generation teacher. Our expectation was different. I was going to college. You can do horseshoeing on the side. I loved that because I had horses all the time. By the way, right now I'm in my 64th year of having horses. So that was great. Now he said, "You misunderstand me. I'm going to be a farrier." And then we took him down to Oklahoma City to the horseshoeing school, where he met his lifelong friend, Sam. They became really good buddies, and I met Sam at that time. he talked as much as he does now, but there were great friends, inseparable, and they kept up the connection even over the distance. Ben started shoeing then. He had great mentors. In Iowa, it was very legal, and here in Missouri, above all, it was Bill McDonald. And Ben always gushed about him and said how much he had learned from Bill, and he worked with him and for him for many years. So, but Ben could also, by the way, he shot my horses for 30 years, for over 30 years. Last shoeing job he did was in February. At that time, I thought he was going uphill again. It was getting better, but it didn't. Ben could also be very funny. He liked to play pranks. I had already started a business in growing vegetables. One day I get a call from an Italian grocer wanting to buy a ton of tomatoes. I insisted I don't have a ton. No, and there was an Italian, no doubt about that. His accent was Italian. When I finally then said, I just don't have them, then he resorted and said, Hast du wirklich keine? Don't you really have any? He resorted back to Bavarian. He had fooled his own father with the accent. Why could he do that? He grew up with 3 languages, English, Bavarian, German. The latter two are related but not totally congruent. And so he developed a keen ear, and he could imitate any kind of accent. It was amazing. He could talk like an Indian from Asia. He could talk Cockney, whatever it was. And he fooled us very often. I don't know how many of you got fooled by him by being called, and then he would say, "Hang up the phone." No, you called me. Now hang up the phone. He did that with us several times too. So he learned how to weld and fabricate things, and so then he lived in 2 worlds, fabrication and horseshoeing, and he loved both things. Now I could go on with stories about him for a long time.
You'll have a chance later.
Yeah, no. Not surprising. For 51 years, 6 months, and 18 days, with few intervals exceptions, we lived very close together. Most of the time, not further away than 25 miles, which is rare nowadays, because nowadays very often children move far away and you hardly see him throughout the year. So he's no more, but he lives on in my memories. It's not going to be easy, but it will have to be done. I thank you again for all his love and respect that you have for him. I see that with a large number of people come. Thank you.
If the farriers would like to line up on this side here, we'll get the ringing. We're going to do what's called a smithing in tradition for the horseshoers, blacksmiths, farriers. They're going to ring. We're all going to ring this anvil one last time, each one of us for Ben. If I can get the hammer out. This is a shaping hammer that we got in 1993. And we used it at school and put it on the shelf. And it's going to get used one more time today.
Well, Klaus,